Alrighty then. So today we are continuing with our practical based knowledge of, what's it called? Pastry. So far we have done sugar pastry, we've done rough puff pastry, and we've done sweet crust pastry with the chocolate tart last week. This week we are looking at choux pastry. Now we've looked at choux pastry before. You guys have made choux buns back in year 9. We're going to up the skill level of choux pastry today. Like, we just made them in year 9, you didn't fill them with anything because we didn't get time to. So today we're going to up the skill level a little bit, and we're going to make something called a Paris Brest, which is choux pastry. If you've looked at the PowerPoint, you should be able to see the pictures. Choux pastry in a ring, which is then cut in half and then filled with cream, sweetened cream and almonds, and then topped with ice and sugar and everything. Okay, so it's extending that skill level a little bit. We're also going to be piping it today as well, just to try and improve some of that skill level too. So the basic processes are the same, although the ingredients are slightly different. So it's not just your basic choux anymore that we're doing. So the first step for choux is butter and a sort of liquid in a saucepan. Okay, so the butter, I need you to use 55 grams, please. So 55 grams of butter goes into a saucepan. Be really specific with this. Like I said, with pastry, it's a bit of a science. One slightly wrong measurement can throw everything off. So 55. 50. There we go. Then you want 4 tablespoons of milk. Okay. So 4 tablespoons is whatever 15 times 4 is in millilitres. 60. So if you want to be really specific, you can use 60. If you haven't got something like this, you can use 60 ml of milk. 2, 3, 4. Okay. Doesn't look like a lot of liquid in there. Trust me, it'll be fine because we're going to add loads of eggs later. You also want a little bit of sugar. Okay. Caster sugar's fine, or icing sugar. Just literally a pinch or 2 of sugar. This then goes in the heat. Before that goes in the heat, actually, you want to get your strong flour weighed. So strong flour, you need 112 grams. Actually, so have you got a different, because I'm going to need this measuring joke, different bowl or something. Okay, 112 grams of strong flour ready to go in. So we're using strong flour again, which I've said before, with short crust and sweet crust we use plain because it's got a lower gluten content. We don't want lots of gluten in there. With rough puff and choux, I'm not concentrating. I recommend using strong because we've got to get that extra rise on these and that extra stretch with it. Strong flour will actually develop that gluten, which will help them rise a little bit more. You can do it with plain, that's absolutely fine. But I just find strong to be a little bit more reliable. Okay, so 112. So, have your flour, have your butter and milk ready to go. I haven't started heating my butter and milk yet, I'm going to do that now, but flour needs to be ready. Now, when you are heating the butter and milk, you are melting it together, and you must bring it to the boil. It must be boiling. Then you can shoot your flour straight in and mix it. If your butter isn't boiling, when you add this mixture won't thicken. Remember gelatinization and starch, it needs to be boiling. If it just goes in when it's cold, you'll just get like this really watery liquid. Butter and milk boiling together, shoot that in, take it off the heat and mix it, okay? So, butter and milk is boiling. Don't let it boil for too long or your liquid will evaporate. Add the flour in, take it away from the heat and start beating. Now, what will happen is this will come together, okay, and start looking like that. Okay, keep on going. If it's really crumbly, if you just keep smushing it, I promise you, mine started really crumbly. If you keep on smushing it together, nice. That's better. It will start to look like that. So that's what you're looking for. Get those measurements right. Like I said, if they're slightly off, then this stage will be wrong. If your mixture is really watery in there, it's because you either didn't have enough flour or you didn't wait for that butter to boil properly first, okay? If you measured everything right and it's really dry and crumbly in there, it may be you let your milk boil a little bit too long, which then means you've evaporated the liquid out and there's not enough to bring this together. So you're looking for it to get to that. If you haven't got that consistency now, stop, bin it, start again. Okay, restart the video, follow the top tips and start again. Because if it's not there now, it's never going to come back. So you now need to leave this to cool for a little while. While you're waiting for that to cool, get 3 eggs in a measuring jug and just lightly beat them. Okay, we need to leave that to cool before we add our eggs because we don't want scrambled eggs. Okay, let's let this cool then. Yeah. So when your mixture's cool, you can start adding your eggs. Now add your eggs bit by bit. If you remember from year 9, this is quite hard work. Okay, it kind of goes a bit slimy. You have to work hard to bring it back together again. Make sure that that mixture is cool. Okay, you might be really impatient, but if it's not cool, your eggs are going to scramble and then this isn't going to work. Then your choux pastry won't rise. So key points for choux pastry then is it's different. This is very, very different to any other pastry that we work with. In terms of like the rest of it, you can bring together in a dough, hold with your hands and roll it out. This pastry is really, really wet and it needs to be. That extra moisture content helps the choux rise. Okay, it creates lots of steam when it's in the oven. And as it creates steam, it creates pressure, which then forces the pastry to rise up. It then creates that hollow shell, which is then suitable for filling with anything you like. So obviously we're going to fill it with whipped cream today. You could fill your pastries with a chocolate ganache if you wanted to. Chocolate ganache is just cream and chocolate melted together. You could fill it with a creme pat. Creme pat is something we look at in a bit. That's literally just like a really thick custard. Or you could do a savoury version and you could fill it with like cream cheese and salmon and bits and pieces like that, or cheese and chives and bacon and bits and pieces. Okay, so choux pastry can actually be sweet or savoury. So you can see you need to work hard to bring it together. It starts to change from a ball into like a mixture like that. That's quite thick. I'm going to add a little bit more. Add these eggs gradually. If you add too much and it's too wet to pipe and hold its shape, again, there's no going back. You just need to start again. Okay, so it's worth taking your time and doing it right the first time. Now you can use an electric whisk for this part, but I would rather you guys used your hands so that you know what the texture should be like. It's easier to tell if you're getting it right with an electric whisk if you do it by hand first of all. Okay, but by all means, if you want to do it with a whisk, you can. Right, this texture is actually looking pretty good. So the texture you're looking for is a dropping consistency, it's called. So if you lift up the spoon, the pastry should just drop off. I know it doesn't look very appetising as it is, okay, but it should just drop off slowly. It shouldn't be pouring off in ribbons. Okay, but it should eventually drop. Right. I think maybe just want a tiny bit more. Literally the teeniest, tiniest bit. There we go, so nice and smooth. There's no cooked or scrambled eggs in there. It's got a dropping consistency. Perfect, so you're looking for that, okay? What we're gonna do then is get this into a piping bag. Now, if you haven't got a nozzle at home, that's fine. You don't necessarily need a nozzle. I'm using a star nozzle today. But piping bags, you can buy these online, like a pack of 200 for fairly cheap. Or you can get reusable ones as well. I recommend you get these nice big ones though. Some of you go out and buy like the little ones from Sainsbury's or Tesco's, and they're more for icing. Can't get into this. Let's cut the top off. Top was still sealed. Really? Yeah. Okay, so you want a nice big one. Get your nozzle in there. I would just shove some of the piping bag in the end of the nozzle to make sure no mixture comes out the bottom. Fold down the top. I did that really quick without you telling you what I did. Fold down the top. Then if you've got someone at home who can help you, just grab their hands like Miss is doing here and just drape the bag over the top. If you haven't got someone at home, you can do it one-handed, or you can get like a vase or a big measuring jug and put the bag on top. Then you just want to scrape all of that mixture into your piping bag. Okay, try not to get it everywhere. It is really messy and really sticky, this mixture. Get as much as you can in. Okay. Scrape the excess off. Lovely, thank you very much, Miss. Baking tray with a silicone mat or some greaseproof paper. In your piping bag then, just make sure all of your mixture goes down to the bottom. Okay, now I've got all this excess here. You want to, oh hello. Get all that excess wrapped around your thumb. Okay, and then twist the bag so it's nice and tight. Okay, there we go. Then what you're going to do is, how big do I say this? I say pipe 2 rings onto a silicone mat, lightly brush the top with the egg wash. Okay, so just 2 rings is fine. This mixture should be enough. So holding the bag steady and flat. Oh, I had an air pocket in there. Rubbish. Okay, and you're going to come round in the best circle you can make. Oof. Now, don't worry if they're not perfect. If you did want to make them perfect, what you could do is, on your greaseproof, sketch the template of a circle and then follow that as a guideline. Okay, but I've got 2 circles piped on there. So the key, I couldn't really show you very well because it was all pouring out, but the key is to keep the piping bag straight. Don't put it at an angle. Some people like to, as if they're writing with a pen. Keep the piping bag straight. Get all this excess out of the way and squeeze from the top rather than the bottom. Okay, just use your bottom hand as a guide, keeping it flat and the same distance from the piping bag at all times. Sorry, from the baking tray at all times. So that excess egg, we're just going to brush over a little bit. Okay, don't drown it in egg. You just want a little bit on just to give it a nice colour. If you completely drown this in egg, then the thing's going to have a bit of a trouble rising because all that extra weight's going to be on there. Okay, a little bit of egg on top. And then this goes into the oven for 10 to 15 minutes at 180 degrees. Right, so these Paddy Brest have had about 20 minutes or so in the oven. Okay, you want to make sure they're nice and crispy and have a good golden brown colour. Okay, to make them crispy, you might just want to pierce them, give a little prick, and then put them back in the oven for a few minutes. That then allows the steam to escape, which helps them dry out. Okay. Now, the next job to do for these is super fiddly, and we need to try and cut these in half. Now, you can see how thin they are. Okay, it is quite difficult, and it can be quite frustrating. You must be patient with it and take it slowly. I suggest you use a bread knife with a serrated edge rather than like a chef's knife. I just actually need to wash my hands. Oh, we've done that. Okay. Right. So when they're properly cool, get them cut. Now, like I said, you might find that they start to crack. That's okay if they start to crack. Well, I mean, ideally not, but Try and keep the knife nice and straight. It's almost like cutting a bagel when you end up cutting it on the wonk. Okay, try and keep it nice and straight. I'm already going off slightly. Adjust it as you need to. It's cracked. Brilliant. It's quite doughy. Okay, that's the bottom bit. We're not worried about the bottom bit because all we'll do is we'll just put that like that together, and then we're going to fill them. So that's that one. If you are really struggling, if yours are really, really thin, you can't get through, what you could do is just take each one and then we'll stack it and fill it in a bit. Okay, you could just, you don't have to cut them if they're far too thin. Okay. But this is where the skill is. You've got to make sure that pastry's right for it to be able to be cut through. And actually, to be honest, I don't think mine's perfect. I think mine's a bit doughy. Okay, this one's cut better. Okay, so you get your little bits in half like that. Look exactly like a bagel. So put those to one side. And then we're going to get whipping our cream. So with our cream, we're just going to do a sweetened double cream. And I've got some almonds to go in it. Now, like I said earlier, when you are making fillings for choux pastry, you don't have to use just cream. You can use a creme pat, which will cook together in a few lessons' time. Or you can cook, or you can do like a chocolate ganache as well, which is super thick, like a chocolatey, rich, velvety chocolate, which you could put in instead. So I'm just putting a bit of cream in there. I've put about 300 ml, I've only got 2. And I'm going to put a few cupfuls of vanilla in, just a couple, and then also some icing sugar. Now with icing sugar, I'd probably say about a tablespoon is enough, but that's something I don't really measure very often. And then you're going to whisk this. When you are whisking, I'll stop it. I will show you when I want you to stop whisking. We do not want this to be curdled. Sometimes people whisk far too much and the cream starts to split. We want this cream to be a nice, velvety, smooth cream. Way! Ooh. Oh, I can reach. That's fine. I thought I was going to stop the video. That'll do. What you will start to see as you are whisking is that the cream starts to get a little bit thicker. It does take its time. And as it whisks, it will start to leave faint trails in the cream. That shows that you're almost there. Okay, you can see it's not thick at all yet, it's just like dropping off the whisk. So we're nearly there, just be careful at this stage, because it will go from thin like that to thick in a matter of seconds. So just be careful. This is leaving deeper trails now, and you can see it's a bit thicker, it's starting to hang off. We just want it a little bit longer. Thank you. Miss Bushel's just interrupted me, everybody. Year 10. She's coming to say hello. Yeah, I'll just edit her out later. I won't, I promise. Here she comes. It's not live, it's just a video. Just recording. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Miss. Okay, so this is what you are looking for, okay? So it's thick, but it's still got a nice light colour on it, okay? It holds its own shape. If I went any longer than this, what would happen is it would start to look really curdled and start to separate a little bit, which isn't what we want. So that is the sort of consistency you're looking for. Then we want to get it in another piping bag. Okay, so same thing, you don't have to have a star nozzle, but I like a star nozzle. Get it in, pop some of the piping bag in the bottom, same process as last time. Fold the top over, get your mate or your mum. Protect their fingers by holding it, covering it over. Just put that in the brush. And then all of that cream can go straight in. if you wanted to, what you might want to do, which I didn't do, is give the cream a little taste before you start piping it, and then you can see if it's sweet enough. Okay, it doesn't need to be too sweet, just give it a little bit of sweetness, as it is a sweet dish. You might want to test that before you go ahead with piping. Thank you, miss. Right, and I'll get my white chopping board out. So, get your Paris Brest, thank you. Make sure you've got the bottom. You can tell the difference between the bottom and the top. Okay, this is the top. You see it's a lot more crackly. This is the bottom. It's smoother where it's been on the baking tray. So you're going to pipe onto the bottom. Okay, so same as last time. Get the cream down there. Okay, and make sure that it's nice and tight on the piping bag. Squeeze in from the top and guide in with the bottom. Now, what I would do with this is I would literally just hold the piping bag straight again, squeeze from the top, and just squeeze some little star shapes. I'd maybe bring them a bit closer together than that. Okay. You can go round in a circle if you want to, but I just think this looks a bit prettier. Okay. Any gaps you've got, fill them in with a little bit extra. Okay, and then we can take some almonds, as long as you're not allergic. This is the traditional flavour. You guys don't need to do this traditional flavour. You guys could use cocoa powder instead if you wanted to, or hazelnuts. Coconut, Miss just said, that would be a good one. Okay, actually, I think I might get a bit more cream on a couple of them. Okay, we want that height on that cream, because this Paris Brest is meant to stand quite tall and quite proud on the plate. So actually, you probably want a bit of a higher lot of cream on there. Just that one maybe. Okay, that then goes on top. Let's get a slate to make it look a bit better. Oh. Do this one and this one. Thank you, miss. Going a bit higher this time. So to get it higher, obviously just lift the piping bag up a little bit. Now this one's cracked, so I'm going to have to be a little bit careful. They are messy to eat. The cream spills absolutely everywhere. Yeah. Okay. Crumble some almonds over the top. Nice bit of texture with the crunch. If you're going to do something, I would recommend getting like something crunchy in there, because it changes the texture up a little bit. Now this is in half, so. Oh, where's my top? There's my lid. And then these sieves are great. If you've got a little sieve like this at home, you can use it. If not, you can use a bigger one. Just be careful. You can literally just tap some ice and sugar on the top. And then, don't crush the almonds now. You can just sprinkle them over. Don't stay on very well, but that's okay. To help them stay on, what you could actually do is brush the top with some apricot jam. That then doesn't change the flavour, just a little bit of apricot jam. It doesn't change the flavour too much, but it gives the top a nice silky shine, and it will help these almonds stay on the top rather than sliding off like mine are doing. It's like a bit of a glaze. And then you can put your ice and sugar and almonds on top. And then they are done. Okay, so French patisserie work there. Okay, so Paris Brest, choux pastry with a high moisture content so that they rise. Okay, controlling the temperature of the oven so they don't burn, they give the time to rise. A sweetened cream in the middle. You can use creme pat, or you can use chocolate ganache if you wanted to. There are recipes on BBC Good Food for those two that are quite good if you want to have a look at that. And then you can top with almonds or hazelnut or coconut or cocoa powder, whatever you wanted. Okay, let me see how you get on, please. I'll see you soon, year 10.